Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Hey, Craig.
The football team's in Lewiston, where it's hot as balls, and there's not much to do but hang out by the pool. Belly flops all day.
So our listeners obviously won't know this, but this is our second take on this because we had a little technical issues. But I got to admit, hot as balls made me laugh genuinely even the second time.
Yeah, I was going to say it was 100 degrees, but I was like, hot as balls is better.
Yeah, no, hot as balls is definitely better.
Yeah,
especially after Mike Leach talking about his affinity for cargo shorts. Did you see that, by the way?
Yeah. Oh my God. We'll get into that.
Yeah,
sure.
we'll. Yeah, that's right. That's on our show list. I see that now.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I'm paying attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll just say, listeners, you have been spared 4 to 5 minutes of Garth Brooks talk because I don't feel like doing that again. So
you don't want me to tell my Garth Brooks story where I was at the concert and watching Frankie Louvu pick off the interception that sealed the game against Stanford. What?
I feel like that's
you don't want to hear that again.
What you did is just as good. Okay, and we can say to summarize, my mom met Garth Brooks like in 1992 and he grabbed her ass. So you've been caught up.
You're totally caught up now.
And this is Podcast versus Everyone.
Yes, it is.
I'm Craig Powers. With me for a second time today, but this is the first time you've heard it, Jeff Newser.
Hi, everybody.
Jeff.
Yeah, Craig.
For the second time, I'd love to hear about your day and how fun it was.
I'm tired as hell, man. I've been painting all day and my back is killing me. So now I'm into my second beer and I'm going to be honest, I'm a little tired.
Well, fine.
I'm trying to
listeners.
all this flowing conversation we had before. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to cut to the chase this time. No more, whatever. Anyway.
I'm just going to say that, you're drinking a beer from Matchless, aren't you?
I am drinking. How did you know?
I don't know.
That's amazing. Good job.
I trained you in the ways of beer, so
that is true.
I know.
Yeah. So I'm having a Matchless beer. I'm having a Blackberry Gates, which is a sour ale with blackberries. The description says, for starters, we weren't expecting blackberries last fruit season. This beer is a blend of year-old sour red ale and over 2 pounds per gallon of fresh blackberries from our friends at Munoz Berry Farm. Jammy but balanced by a soft acidity. Blackberry Gates is fruity, but doesn't overwhelm the underlying beer, which I can agree with that. Not as blackberry as I was expecting. Definitely sour. I can definitely taste the sort of sour red ale piece to it. But, like I said, the blackberries are kind of more of an accent than a feature. And so it's good. I would have actually preferred a little more blackberry. That's not like a criticism of the beer. That's just kind of what I was in the mood for, was something with a little more blackberry, but that's all right. Well, it's still a good beer.
Eat a damn blackberry then, man.
Don't
drink a beer, eat a blackberry.
I've got wild invasive blackberry bushes growing in my backyard.
That's because long ago some guy decided that blackberries grow really well over here and he should just start planting them and there'll be free food for everyone everywhere.
Asshole.
And now we all battle blackberries everywhere we go. It doesn't matter where you live in Washington State, you're battling blackberries.
I know. I don't even battle with them for the most part. I'm just like, whatever. They grow in a part of our property that's not really maintained, so it's just like, whatever. But anyway.
But yeah,
you can't even do anything with them. You can't make pies with them.
You can eat them.
They're not you can eat them you can, but it's like you can't I love a good blackberry pie.
Yeah. You
you
get
know,
the seeds
and you can't. These aren't like
those ones. Yeah,
you can't bake with them. You know.
yeah, they're not like the
No. Anyway.
So it's an interesting note that you pointed out in the beer that you didn't the first time we did this is that
I know.
it has a red ale base, like a red sour base.
Yes.
So that's it's interesting because I'm sure I've seen that beer and I passed on it because I typically pass on red sour bases and dark sour bases because I tend to find them a little more vinegary.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really like that in my sours as much. Like it's more like the Flanders red style.
Yes.
This is not really my favorite. Definitely not on my top styles of beer.
And I do like a Flanders red. I think I had a really good one from Freedom Brewery.
Yeah.
Brewers. I liked theirs. It was good. And so, yeah, that was when I first started, drinking it. I couldn't really put my finger on that flavor. And then I was just kind of like, okay, well, this is kind of weird. And when I poured it also, it's very dark.
Yeah.
It looks more, I'm trying to think of a good way it almost looks kind of cola colored. If that makes sense. Like it almost looks like a Coke kind of color. Yeah. So like I said, the blueberry or the blackberry, are just, kind of more of an accent to get, just a little bit of a flavor hint to the red ale underneath.
Yep. Matchless, good brewery.
Yeah.
Down there in Tumwater. So, they have two head brewers. One guy came from Three Magnets and he would have made the beer that you're drinking now. That's Pat. And, the other brewer, Aaron, brews a lot of the stuff you get in cans, the IPAs and stuff. And he came down from Chainline. So they have a really good lineup there and their beer shows it. Definitely quality beverages.
Got a couple more bottles from them sitting in the fridge that I picked up while I was down there. So
very good. So I, part of the reason I was singing country music today is because I was back home in Yakima this past weekend, visiting family, showing off the bee. Always gotta, give the grandparents time with bee. Other things I do when I go back to Yakima is, drink beer. And there's actually quite a few breweries in Yakima now. And so, I went to Wandering Hop Brewing with my dad. We had some beers and I picked up a crowler of Not of This World. It's a hazy IPA brewed with Galaxy. Usually when brewers like to, put, Galaxy in their beers, they like to give it this sort of space name. Interesting sidebar about that. Jeff, of course, you're familiar with Space Dust.
I am.
So that is Elysian's now flagship beer, but it used to be this kind of once a year kind of seasonal, kind of hard to find beer before they were bought by Anheuser-Busch InBev. So the reason Space Dust has its name is because the original recipe had Galaxy hops in it. But Galaxy hops are definitely an expensive hop. They're from Australia. They're not easy to get. Not as easy to get in large quantities. So, guess what AB InBev did? They said, everyone likes this brand. So we want to have the brand. So they basically changed the recipe to take out the Galaxy hops. And so the namesake for Space Dust is no longer actually in the beer, which is, pretty funny. So if you love Space Dust, I'm sorry to tell you, you are not drinking the original one, and most likely you're drinking it old, whenever you find it. But yeah, so this is a Galaxy IPA, hazy. Galaxy gives you these pineapple mango notes, very good stuff. This is well done. It's got light, the lightness, light bitterness on the back end, very good aromatics. So it's definitely, right up there. Wandering Hop's been, they started out with just a half barrel system. Now they have a 3.5 barrel system. So they're actually more of like a brewer that can brew some beer to be sent out and stuff now. So one of a few breweries that are coming up in Yakima that are nice to pay attention to. I'll have another one next week. I got a couple crowlers when I was out there. They're definitely into the hazy IPAs, so it'll be another hazy next week. But yeah, so yeah, Wandering Hop. If you're ever in Yakima, check them out. They're on 20th Street, and go Yakima.
Next time I just happen to be driving through Yakima.
Hey, people do that.
I know people who though, like
if you're going to Tri-Cities from
I was going to say,
Seattle,
what is Yakima on the way to?
Tri-Cities.
I guess.
Or maybe
That's
you're
true.
going to Yakima. Maybe you're going to get a Miner's Burger.
That is true. You drive to Yakima.
Maybe you're going to go wine tasting.
Yeah, okay.
Which
All right.
we did some wine tasting on Saturday.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You are highfalutin.
I know.
But B didn't taste any wine.
B was back home with her grandma.
Ooh.
She was with her grandma, and the rest of the group partook in the wine.
Expert parent move right there.
Yes, of course. And then we also had B's grandpa was with us, and he was a designated driver. So,
Oh, boy.
and if you go
That is
to
working the system right there.
if you go to Porteous Wine, Porteous Winery in Zilla, they have very good wine. It's, definitely one of my favorite ones in Yakima Valley. And they have about 20 different wines that you can taste, and they'll just keep pouring them until you want, and they'll give you, if you want to try the wines again, because you've tried 20 wines and you forgot which ones you like. Yeah, you can just have them. And that's where we really, got that one.
Yeah, like I can't remember if I like that one. Will you pour that one for me again?
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
Oh, and then they also had a port to try. So, you end your tasting with a nice port, and then then I handed the keys over to Amanda's dad, and we went on to the next one.
Well done, sir. Well done.
But yeah, so I think we. Actually, I thought we were getting through this segment quicker this time, but I think I dragged on about wine a bit there, and now we're back to the regular time. But yeah, Jeff. So it is fall camp, and it has been going. What are we on, day 4?
Day 5. Today's
now?
day 5. Oh.
Got practice reports from Theo. We got just
right.
so much stuff to dig into. Let's get through the boring football stuff before we talk about the fun stuff. But so far, a lot of the storylines are pretty similar to what we heard out of spring camp, to be honest. You hear about Cassidy Woods and the inside. We even heard some rumblings about Clay Markoff, who may or may not be getting more carries than you think.
Yeah. Oh, I'm panicking a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so we should probably tell people.
Yeah, because that was a comment section. I'm sure most people...
There are probably a lot of people who have no idea what we're talking about right now. So Clay Markoff's mom or brother or uncle or best friend from high school or something was in the Coug Center comments saying that we were underselling. It was a story I wrote about the running back situation. We were underselling Clay. We were overlooking Clay Markoff. To which I said, that's silly. And I was like, I set the over under of Clay Markoff carries this year at 3.5. And the reason why I set it so low was because my assumption was that he would be, at very best, the third running back. And I figured more likely like the fourth or fifth running back. And so, over the last few years, there's been actually the last 2 years. It's basically been two guys at the top and that's it. And very few carries for the rest of the team. Really just, last year it was James Williams and Max Borghi. The year before that, it was James Williams and Jamal Morrow. And so he really has the last couple of years chosen to go with two guys at the top and really nothing from the third guy. Most people I think remember Keith Harrington really didn't get very many touches. So my thought was, okay, so if Clay Markoff is, maybe the fourth guy, he might get a couple carries, in mop up duty over the course of the year. Well, lo and and behold, now and then there was a little wager involved. I don't remember what I said. I'll have to go back and pay it off if I don't.
Yeah, you don't have to eat another shoe, do you?
Yeah, I don't have to eat a shoe. Yeah, so longtime Coug Center readers will remember I had to actually eat a shoe over a basketball transfer who was not on scholarship. But yeah, a little bit surprising, definitely, that Clay Markoff is sort of running in the top two right now with Max Borghi. I will say that I will stick to my guns and say I don't think it stays that way.
Right.
I think, Deion McIntosh, obviously, as he learns the offense and gets comfortable, I think he'll pass Markoff. But still, good for that guy, right? Good for Markoff that he's, kind of hanging out up there and certainly doing enough that he's able to get some reps in that first and second team area.
Definitely. The running back spot will be interesting to see if, I think, we'll see McIntosh and obviously, Max get most of the carries and McIntosh get the next carries.
Well, and I'll even say this. I saw a video yesterday with a couple of runs from McIntosh in it, and he looked very good. Like he made some moves. He did have one, sort of touchdown. He had a touchdown run from 5 yards out, which was good. But he had another one where he just sort of like ran off the right. It was like a right run to the right and made the first guy miss with a little kind of jump cut thing. And yeah, he looked really good. So I think, I still believe he'll be the second guy when all is said and done. But like I said, Clay Markoff, I'm not trying to bag on the guy. Good for him, man.
Yeah. Another interesting spot, the strong safety position. So Theo noted that Daniel Isom has been back there at number 1 recently. He's been making plays in practice, whatever that means. Strips and pass breakups and interceptions and such. I think definitely strips are something that the defense has valued. You can kind of see the way they attack the ball, but yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe Isom's the guy back there. And they were saying there was Isom and Beekman in the back. So we might have a whole new lineup back there, and obviously we know that it's very apparent now that Skylar Thomas is there at the nickel corner position. He has not seen. He's been there in spring, and he's there even after Jalen Thompson left. He's still down there. So it looks like he's going to be there. So it's going to be these new guys that are coming in to take over in safety at the safety positions.
It's always a really good sign when Mike Leach says good things about you, because he, like a lot of times he'll be like, well, he had a good day. We just need a little more consistency and all that stuff. He was pretty effusive in his praise of Isom,
right?
Who spent the spring playing corner. And I think, maybe they envision him playing there initially, but I also think that if, Tracy Claeys has his druthers, I think we saw from recruiting that he prefers, longer, bigger guys who can man up on the outside. Isom is not that guy. Isom's like 5'10", 5'11", something like that. A little smaller, athletic, but a little smaller. So I think they can maybe feel like they can get away a little more with a safety who's a little undersized, which, might seem sort of odd to some people, but, Earl Thomas isn't that big of a guy. Not that Daniel Isom is Earl Thomas, but I think you catch the drift.
Right,
you
right.
can, if you're rangy, and you're good at playing the ball, you can get away with maybe being a little bit smaller at the safety position. And so, I think the idea there is that, they like Thomas at nickel. They like Beekman, at that free safety spot. That's where they had him all spring. He ran with the ones next to Jalen Thompson all spring. Isom was running with the ones all spring at corner. And then, they had that need at safety. So they thought, let's try him out at safety. And I think it's almost like with Leach, you can almost hear a little bit of excitement, feeling good about what Isom can do, his range, his tenacity at safety. I think they feel really good. I'd be really surprised if something happened between now and August 31st, to change that trio. I think that's probably pretty well set unless some sort of injury, pops up, or let me rephrase, unless somebody in that group is happy and healthy, and then maybe there's a change. But other than that, I think those three guys are who they want, and I think they're going to stick.
Well, speaking of happy and healthy, Jameer Calvin is still not practicing.
I am not okay with this, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was in a boot in the spring, and he's still in a boot now?
Yeah, now because you're looking at your first team Y is Brandon Brandon Arconato and Cassidy Woods.
Right.
Brandon Arconato, who is what he is, and Cassidy Woods, who has played there all of,
a few months,
17 practices or something at this point.
Right.
Yeah. So that's, it definitely, like, when you have Jameer in there, like, there's nowhere to hide on defense. You're getting excited about that because, at the X you had Jackson and Martin. So it doesn't matter who's in there. Patman and Winston on the other side, again, doesn't matter. Like, and then, Trevell Harris and Renard Bell at H, like, again, like, just two talented guys. But then when you look at that Y, you're like, okay, that's the one question. And, hopefully Jameer is, going to be even happier and healthier by the time the season starts. But he's obviously, still recovering from his injury.
The thing that nobody knows because of the way injuries are handled in the program is nobody knows if, was he injured and then okay and then injured again,
yeah.
Right? Or is this like, is he still in a boot like 4 months later? That would be weird. So, my guess would be that it's, he was injured and then, recovering and then injured again, but, we don't really know. Right. And one of the weird things about this is that the wide receiver position has always been the safety blanket for the quarterbacks, whether it was, Craycraft or Kyle Sweet or Jameer Calvin, right? I mean, there was always this sort of the safety net a little bit from that position. The ball tended to go to Y a lot more than H. H, for the fans that don't really know, H is the inside receiver position to the left. So that's again, Renard Bell, Trevell Harris. For whatever reason, while Leach has been the coach at Wazoo, H has been just utilized by quarterbacks way less than Y. Not really sure why that is, but that's kind of the way history has gone. So, it's a little interesting that, now we talk about how deep this receiver core is, and we feel good about the two deeps at, Z and X and Y, or Z and X and H. And then all of a sudden Y is just sort of like, you got a former walk-on and a converted outside receiver, which is definitely strange and not ideal. But, I think that so far, reviews of what Cassidy Woods is doing are strong. I feel okay with Arconato as the backup. I'm okay with that. Just, to have a senior guy in there who's, had all the reps and,
right.
Should know what to do. And, and a lot of, to be honest, so much of the air raid is spacing and just being in the right spot and, creating not necessarily space for yourself always, but space for other players by occupying the right spot on the field, which, can open up space for other players. Arconato being in that spot can be beneficial. So, yeah.
Yeah. But Jameer Calvin being in that spot means when he catches the ball,
be better.
He can do a hell of a lot more damage.
No doubt. That would be better.
Let's look at the defense for a sec. Interesting. Obviously, kind of one of the positions, middle linebacker, because you're losing Peyton Pallor there. Interesting kind of switch, that Theo, where we're talking about Theo Lawson of the Spokesman Review, which I'm sure most of you who listen to this know that.
I hope so.
Something that Theo noted was, that Dom Civils was actually playing who was rush linebacker last year, was actually playing in the middle, and Fave has moved out to be a rush linebacker. So Dom that's interesting. It's just like a moving part. It seems like, it's like, I don't know how it impacts when you have two guys just switching positions.
Right.
But Fave had that famous sack against Oregon, but, yeah.
And he was consistently in the backfield against Oregon. So I think the idea there is to take advantage of him as a potential pass rusher. He just seems to kind of have a nose for creases in the offensive line. I seem to remember, again, it's always one of those things like we sit there and go, oh yeah, I remember this and that. I mean, maybe my memory is right, but, I seem to remember him being in the backfield a fair amount throughout the season. So I think good move to kind of maybe put him in a spot where he can get after the passer, get on the field maybe a little bit more. And then I don't know. I'm curious about Civils. Maybe that says something about how they feel about the Mike linebacker. Maybe they don't feel great about, either Sherman or Justice Rogers. I tend to think Dylan Sherman's going to be the guy who ends up there. I think we all kind of keep waiting for Justice Rogers to step up and do something, but that we've been like waiting for like 2 years for that. And maybe it's going to happen. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But, moving Civils there, I mean, it could just be a depth thing, but that tells me that they're maybe looking for something there. When you take a kid who, is in that position, who's had game experience, right? He's not, he's not like a redshirt freshman who hasn't played yet. I mean, he's a guy who has game experience playing at rush. If you're going to take a guy like that and move him around, that, I don't know, that just tells me you're looking for something, and maybe you're hoping that you maybe hit a little gold with something. I don't think this is like when, against Rutgers when we were moving a running back to safety, but who's that? Tiandre Caldwell, right? Wasn't that who that was?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I pulled that name out.
Well done.
But, yeah. Pat me on the back. But Civils, I mean, who knows? Maybe there's a thought there that they want to get a little more athletic. At that middle linebacker spot, I mean, they tried Jihad Woods there for a brief time during spring.
Yeah.
They were kind of trying some different stuff, and that tells me that maybe they, and look, I'm not trying to bag on again, Dylan Sherman or Justice Rogers, but the fact of the matter is Dylan Sherman is a former walk-on. That says something about perhaps his measurables to some degree, and so I would assume that Dominic Civils probably has maybe a little more explosive measurables to him, given that again they were playing him at rush, they were having him rush the passer, those kinds of things. So I don't know, going to be interesting to see if he can make a dent there. My guess would be it's maybe a little bit more of a depth thing, but maybe they're hoping to maybe catch lightning in a bottle with him.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting because I always looked at him as kind of this like body type of a guy that was just looked like an end, but just wasn't big enough to be an end.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see him in the middle. These kind of things happen all the time. I mean, the nice thing about the program now is you have guys in there that you can move around, and it's not so, like if there's something that that needs to be moved, then maybe you do. So what Leach said about the move for Fave to rush, he said to depth, and see if we can get Fave on the field. So they might be thinking what you're thinking. He's a guy that was in the backfield a lot when he was on the field, and they just want to be able to get him in there. It's interesting enough that you were talking about athletes. Dylan Sherman himself said he's an athlete; he can jump all over the place. So
I will say that there's a little bit more rotation also with the defensive line, and so if the idea is to get Favai on the field more, there's definitely going to be more opportunity for that because they're going to be shuttling guys in and out, probably a little less so right with the linebackers. So and I will say that I just looked up really quick. Civils is 6'3", 230.
Oh, yeah.
Dylan Sherman is 6'2", 230. Rogers is 6'2", 230. So in essence, they're all about the same size, assuming that all those heights and weights are accurate, which, they might not be.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So yeah, things are happening. Practice is happening. I'm going to throw a curveball here because I kind of forgot about it, but Booby was at practice.
Yeah. How about that?
That it kind of shows that maybe people who think there are rifts between certain humans that are just on the outside don't really know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Because obviously Booby was there with Leach and chatting him up, and obviously still feels a connection to the program. He's hit some tough times being cut by the Chiefs, but I encourage you to read the, of all places, Bleacher Report article.
Yes.
On Booby. It's an excellent piece. It's not a super happy piece.
No, it's not.
But it brings up a lot of important factors and some things that maybe you wouldn't think about in terms.
Could you hear that?
I could definitely hear that.
We had a little kid invasion.
Yeah.
Atticus, do you want to say hi?
Hello.
Hi, Atticus.
Good job, buddy.
Seriously, it's
I know,
really gonna come.
Your tooth is
out.
very
There's
loose.
like
Okay.
There's like a little crack where it's gonna pull out of the two tooth connectors.
Okay,
it's
good job.
Actually getting 100%.
It's a high quality podcast here. Good job, buddy. Way to go. You keep wiggling that thing.
The Tooth Fairy is on her way to the Noosers.
Yeah, except we always forget. We are the worst. We're like, kids wake up the next morning, the Tooth Fairy didn't come. And we're like, oh man, that Tooth Fairy's a real bitch. Oh my gosh. Like, man, I can't believe she didn't come. What is even going? Yeah, anyway, so I don't know. Sarah's really good at making up excuses. She does a great job. But anyway, back to what we were talking about.
So, read that Booby story. A lot of interesting, talking about sort of a learning disability that he has and how that has kind of impacted the way he learns football plays and everything. And, you didn't think about it. You think like his playing style, his athleticism, his ability to catch the ball makes him a perfect fit for the Chiefs, but also they have this insanely large playbook. And, he said, something he mentioned is that like, it's just, what he had in high school and what he had in college. Obviously Mike Leach's playbook is on a piece of paper.
It's notoriously small.
Yeah. And then a lot of what they do is with hand signals. So, but it sounds like he really put in a ton of effort to memorize the playbook, but, maybe it was a bit overwhelming. And, so it doesn't seem like it's an ability thing as much as it was just not a great fit not as good a fit for him there as we maybe thought. But it seems like he's had some workouts with other teams, so hopefully he'll land.
Hopefully he catches on somewhere.
Hopefully he catches on somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, as an educator, it definitely sort of, as I was reading about the learning disability stuff, it just sort of breaks my heart, right? Because you always hate to see a learning disability holding somebody back from what they're actually capable of.
Right.
It's why we have IEPs, right? So for people who don't know, an IEP is
which they mentioned in the story that he had when he was in high school. So
yeah, it's an individualized education plan, and it's got two components. It's got the two components for the gen ed teachers, which is accommodations and modifications, right? So accommodations are just what are the things we can do sort of environmentally to help the kid out, right? So it might be something as simple as, have them sit in the front row. It might be something like taking tests in a different environment. It might be having test questions read to them versus having them read them, or maybe extra time for the test. I mean, those are all accommodations, right? Modifications are when we say, okay, we need to shorten the assignment. We need to modify the assignment so that they can show us what they know, that sort of thing. And so, my guess is, he got a lot of accommodations, right? And Mike Leach's playbook, as we mentioned, is sort of famously small. And then, one other thing, I'm going to be working on a story on Mike Leach as a teacher and the way that he teaches things. I had an interview with him last week, and he kind of went through how he introduces concepts to the players, and he really goes through sort of this step-by-step slow process that really is very similar to how, I, as a teacher, a high school teacher, would introduce a concept in English class. So he talks about how, like, hey, so we draw it up on the board, how we want them to do it, right? And then we talk them through and we talk about everybody's responsibilities. And then we show them some film of how we expect the play to be run and what we want it to look like. And this is just also, by the way, this is just the base part of the play, right? Because a lot of these plays, almost all these plays have like, almost, an infinite number of tweaks that they can make to them with formation or whatever, in order to modify them. But the base play, so they start with the base play, they do that. And then they go out to the practice field, they walk it through, then they actually run it, and so it's like, there's like 5 steps to this thing where like you, at every stage, you're able to maybe digest a little bit, ask questions, for them to make sure everybody's got it, all that kind of stuff. The NFL is sort of, again, notorious for these huge, massive playbooks, right? And you've got to learn, literally hundreds of plays. Now, once you've been in it for a while, you start to pick some of that stuff up. But if you're not quite ready for that, and you don't have, really good strategies for picking it up, then yeah, you're gonna have a really tough go of it. And that's the part that sort of broke my heart about what I was reading in that story. I was just like, it's here you got a guy who's obviously talented enough, to play in the NFL, but he's being held back by the fact that he can't maybe pick up the playbook as quick as he should be. And, and who knows if that was everything, obviously that's his story. So who knows if that's, everything there is to the story. But if it is, it certainly wouldn't shock me if it was, cause, you got to pick up this stuff quickly. And if you can't pick it up quickly, then, teams are gonna, they're gonna find somebody else who can, because there are a lot of guys, if we're being honest, Booby is not uniquely talented. If you're Marshawn Lynch and you're having a hard time picking up the playbook, they're going to figure out a way to accommodate you, right? If you're James Williams and you're having a hard time picking up the playbook, they'll just be like, well, we have, 5 other guys pretty much just like you, who we can sign.
They pointed to it in the story where if you're a guy coming in, an undrafted player, your margin for error is extremely small.
Already small.
Yeah. And so it's, Marshawn Lynch was, I'm pretty sure he was the first round draft pick. So it's if you're coming in first round draft pick versus that, that undrafted guy. Yeah. Totally different.
Yep.
But yeah, Jeff, I really want to talk about some belly flops and cargo shorts, but I think maybe we should sell something first.
Yep, now's a good time for a commercial break. And we're back. Whew. That was good.
Man, I'm already subscribed.
Yeah. How do you know? What if it wasn't a podcast ad?
I'm subscribed to whatever it is.
Whatever it is, I want it.
I want it. I mean, almost everything's a subscription now. Everything is as a service.
That is
you
true.
You can subscribe to your razors.
You can subscribe to the subscription.
You can subscribe to your food. You can subscribe to everything. To your clothes, to your razors, everything. You can go on Amazon and just sign up for everything to be delivered monthly, and you never have to you don't have to think about anything really if you don't want to. Okay,
so before we get to Leach and his belly flops and cargo shorts, are you subscribed to anything strange or anything out of the ordinary?
No.
I did subscribe to razors once, back before I had a large beard. And I was like, yeah, I'll subscribe to razors. That sounds like a good deal. It was by the way, it was Harry's.
Yes.
And they were good, by the way. These were good razors. I'm not paid for this. Harry's is not a sponsor of the show.
Harry's does sponsor podcasts a lot, though. So kind of keep that in your pocket, man. Don't give that away for free.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just saying, hey, if Dollar Shave Club wants to call up, I'm not saying no. I do need to shave my neck from time to time.
I saw it was either Harry's or Dollar Shave Club. I was driving in Seattle the other day, and this was their billboard. It said, "Does this mustache make me look gay?" Good.
I was like, wait a second, where is this going?
It just says good. Or perfect. It says something perfect. Like that. It's
that's awesome.
I was like, all right, that's funny.
Yeah. Because that could have gone south in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, mercy.
All right, man.
All right, let's talk about someone who doesn't have a mustache.
Yeah, I don't think Leach would ever grow a mustache.
Yeah.
But
do you think he subscribes to Harry's?
He
seems like a very...
Leach probably has a very particular place that he gets his razors. And it could...
See, I disagree. Like, I think he's a guy who's just like, whatever.
I don't know. I feel like he'd have a strong opinion on it.
I got to ask him about that.
Yeah. You guys are best friends now. Come on.
Yeah, that's true. I do have his phone number.
Yeah. Just text him right now. We want live answers on the podcast.
Hey,
what
Mike.
razors do you use?
I got to know. Are you particular about your razors? I'll bet. Okay. So if I ever get a chance to ask him this question, here's my predicted response. It's whatever his wife buys for him.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll bet 100% he'll say, I don't know. I think, I don't know. Sharon buys something and I just use whatever Sharon buys for me. But I'll bet that's what,
but we
with
need
a cough. There's gotta be a cough in there too.
But we do know two things that he does believe in. And one is that he does not believe in polyester shorts.
He does not.
And
believe.
Two, he is a big fan of cargo shorts, which anyone would know from looking at him.
That is true. Yes.
But let's go back to the polyester shorts. What did he say? He said he doesn't like to wear them because his...
Oh dear. I'm looking up the quote right now.
Well, he was talking about his package, but the way he put it was still hilarious.
Okay, he says, I don't understand those. He's talking about the nylon shorts, right? Like gym shorts or whatever. Mm-hmm. He says, I don't understand those. You jog around and your stuff flaps all over the place. I've never liked those. But,
okay, so Mike apparently also does not wear underwear. Like, that's what I'm gathering from this.
I guess.
Have you ever heard of boxer briefs, man? You can just wear boxer.
like you can wear underwear while you're wearing those gym shorts.
I mean, like, all of his players are probably wearing compression shorts constantly underneath everything they're wearing.
Yeah.
And he probably can get those for free. I don't, you
Although, I mean, maybe stuff he's talking about, like your phone. Or your keys.
He could be, but
it could be.
I've seen the video. I didn't get that. I didn't. But yeah. But if we are talking about his preferred shorts, that would make sense.
Right.
Cargo shirts are notorious.
Right. You put your wallet down in the cargo pocket.
Yeah, and everything.
Right. You put everything down.
So you're just kind of being drugged down. Like around everything's kind of your balance has been shifted down to your knees. It helps you, stay low when you're walking about. They're
extremely practical. Mike Leach is nothing if not a practical man.
I don't know. So I haven't worn cargo pants since I was probably in high school because I think they had already maybe in college.
Yeah,
probably in college. Right. But I just remember if there was something in those if you actually so I would usually still keep stuff in the normal pockets because if you put something in that cargo pocket, you're digging. It's like a woman's purse.
That is true.
You're just like digging around, like, shit, where did that go? I know I put it in there. Oh, there's a half-eaten cookie down here. What the hell?
You know what though? I will say that sometimes those cargo pockets did come in handy.
I cannot think of one single solitary situation where they did.
So here's my situation going to like a Seahawks game or a football game. Yes, and you have more pockets than you need to carry in the things that you need to carry in for Are you talking about alcohol? Who would carry in illicit alcohol into a football game, Craig?
Not a Coug. Not any Cougs.
Not you.
No,
of our listeners, certainly.
No Coug has ever done that.
Psh, no, I certainly never went into a game with a girl who had, taken a Ziploc bag full of alcohol and put it in a tampon box and called it good.
Yes.
Nope. That had never happened before.
Yes, girls, the MVPs of alcohol bringing in the student section.
Dude, girls are the MVPs of everything. Let's just be honest.
Let's be honest. We're a very progressive podcast, everyone knows.
We are.
So where do you land on cargo shorts now as a near 40 adult?
Oh, God, no. No cargo shorts left. They're all gone.
Yeah, same. No, I don't. Those.
Where does one even find cargo shorts at this point?
Well, Leach says that people just give them to him now. Like because like how many people are still wearing them? Like probably the cargo short makers are like, we got to get that guy.
Yeah,
that guy's on TV like all the time. He's always wearing. It's
That's fantastic.
Like he's always wearing the cargo shorts. We got to get that guy, and so every single. I don't know if Union Bay still makes cargo shorts or whoever else was making them. I don't know. But I haven't bought a pair of cargo shorts probably in 16 years. I don't know.
Yeah. I will say that I have owned cargo shorts more recently than that, but it's definitely been years. I don't know how many years, but it's definitely been years since that's been.
I did get into a phase in my, just 22, 23, 24, where I just always would wear big basketball shorts all the time. Like, in like a t-shirt. That was my outfit, and a backwards hat. That was the outfit that I wore all the time. Every day. Like I had a pair of Jordan shorts that went down like well past my knees. And then I wore a t-shirt, usually a WSU t-shirt that I probably got for free at some point, and a backwards hat. And that was my outfit. And I had a really stupid little Billy Goat goatee. And I always look at myself in those days. I'm like, I look like an idiot. Like just a total freaking idiot.
Comfort has to be paramount for a man of your size though.
Oh, it is. And then I got into wearing slim clothes, and so that went out the window. And now I wear a lot of there's an increasing number of shirts that come in like kind of dry fit style like material. And then sweatshirts. So I'm all about like polyester shirts and polyester sweatshirts and like and polyester shorts and like, but they like I get these like board shorts that look like regular shorts. I'm like, yes, give me all the polyester you can possibly find.
Yeah, because you know what those don't do? You know what those garments don't do? They don't shrink.
Exactly, and that is the most important thing for
they don't change.
Yeah, they don't change. And they cost a little more, but I like them for a little longer.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And when you're sweating in the summer, you feel a little better wearing them.
Yeah.
Than wearing a cotton t-shirt.
Now, speaking of board shorts, I don't know that Mike Leach was wearing board shorts when he was, so the team took a trip to the swimming pool and Coach Leach was encouraged to do something for the team. And
if you've seen the other clips, like I follow them, the Instagram stories, everyone was doing belly. Like you saw, Liam Ryan and Lamont McDougal out there.
Of course. I mean, when you are that size, a belly flop is like,
if you're not belly flopping, if you're an interior lineman and you're not belly flopping, then what are you doing with your life?
I mean, what are you even doing at the pool?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Mike Leach got convinced to go do a belly flop, and it was okay.
It was okay. He definitely
chickened out
a little bit at the end. Because when I first saw it, I'm like, was he belly flopping? I don't know. Because honestly, it kind of makes it worse sometimes when you pull back at the end, because then your face ends up hitting, or like your like arm hits at this awkward angle. Like I don't know. Like you just gotta go full out. You can't chicken out.
I'm not here to like condemn Mike Leach for chickening out a little bit, because I would 100% chicken out.
Oh sure.
Like I am not a Like I'm not real good with pain. That's not something I'm real good with. So yeah, I thought it was good. Like what would you rate the belly flop? Out of 10? Like how many out of 10?
Well, one thing that I think like Leach's weight fluctuates quite a bit. And his belly was quite a bit bigger than I thought it would be. So I give him plus points for that. Like, it's a very impressive beer belly he's got there. So he had the goods. He had the goods to go in. I got to give him like an 8. The splash was good, but not that good.
Yeah.
Yeah. He kind of pulled in a little bit at the end. He didn't full on like keep that kind of spread eagle, like he didn't keep that spread eagle position all the way down. This should be in the Olympics, by the way. Like,
it should.
Come on. I know we get the diving where you're supposed to make like no splash and like you just like are like a missile going in. No. Let's have just a low diving board belly flop competition. And only dudes who have beer bellies. No skinny dudes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll give him an 8. And I give him, maybe even 8.5, a little extra credit for doing this. Mike Leach is worth many millions of dollars. Mike Leach doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. But he went up there and he, dropped a belly flop, for team unity.
Yeah. And that was, as someone who, has led, high school students in, different endeavors, as like a, journalism advisor or whatever, and done sort of these team bonding type activities. Nothing brings the team together quite like convincing the person in charge, the adult, to do something stupid. And so, you really have no choice but to sort of play along, and the more you play along, the better it is for everybody. I think that, it's become pretty clear over the years that Mike Leach's players really, I don't know that they always understand him, but they definitely respect him.
Yep.
As a coach and as a person, and they definitely have an affinity for him. And, something I find kind of interesting is kind of the longer he's around, the more we kind of get like little glimpses into that with him.
Right.
He was so aloof, for the first, however many years. And I don't know how long he's going to stay here, but I do know that, after the first few years, it was just sort of like, man, who is this guy? And he's so just standoffish and, whatever. And maybe I'm, just completely misreading the situation, but it really seems like, when things sort of went sideways, with all the assistants leaving and Tyler dying and, just seemed like, and he was talking with Tennessee, right? I mean, like it seemed like this whole thing had a tendency to, or had the ability to implode upon itself. It seems like last year just really energized everybody and really kind of, put the program and put him in a position where it was like, yeah, this is good and comfortable. And he kind of seems to have maybe loosened up just a tiny bit, because of it. And so, like I said, the longer he's around, the more I think we get, just these glimpses into what it is that makes people who are close to him, feel like, that he's a good dude and an excellent leader. And, I think it's just little stuff like this that really goes a long way, and like I said, as someone who's kind of been in that position, for me, it's with, high school kids, but, for him, it's about the same, right. Age difference.
Right.
That stuff goes a long way. And the people you're trying to lead really, they appreciate that kind of stuff when you kind of get in the mud with them and goof around a little bit.
Right. Yeah. And I actually have a funny story about this. As you know, Jeff, and the readers might not know, at one point when I lived in Tennessee, I worked at a group home. And so during the summer, we would take the kids on outings, like we'd take them to the water park or take them to more boring places. One of the trips was to a ropes course. And, I am deathly afraid of heights. They terrify me.
Me too.
Yeah. So I can handle a roller coaster, but I hate the part when you're like crawling up because you're just like slow and like you have time to think about it. And like, I remember a time when my 7th grade field trip, we went to this like camp and I had to like climb up a tree and I remember the higher I got, like the they had pegs in the tree. You were supposed to climb up to get to the zip line. And every peg just felt like farther and farther away. And so I ended up getting back down. It was quite embarrassing for a 12, 13-year-old with all these girls around or whatever. But, so we take these kids as a ropes course, and I'm like, I am not doing this. No, there's no way I'm not doing this. And then one of the kids goes, and they called me Mr. Craig. He's like, Mr. Craig, like, I'll like, if you do it, I'll do it. And like, he was just like, he's like, I really want to do it, but I just, like, will you, like, basically they were going up in twos, and he was like the left one out or something. And so I was like, all right, I'll do it. So I go up there. You have to climb up this rope ladder, which was not fun. And then you get up to this point, and you have to walk across this very long beam. And you're, 20 feet off the ground or whatever. And I'm just like holding onto the tree and being like, nope. I'm not fucking doing it. Like, I'm in front of all these, like, in front of all my, like, 16-year-olds, and they're just like, they're loving it because they see, like, they probably for the first, like, one of the rare times get to see me in a raw, like, unfiltered way. Like, Mr. Craig cusses a lot. Like, what the hell? Like, holy crap. And they're telling me, like, it's fine. You're tied to a rope. And I'm like, I fucking know that. I know I'm tied to a rope. That doesn't matter in my brain. Like, that just doesn't matter. And then they're like, well, you have to climb back down that ladder if you go the other way. And I'm like, no. Finally, I walk across the beam, and that was the hardest part. And then you have to walk across this, like, rope to get up to the zip line. And I remember thinking, like, I got to jump on the zip line as soon as I get up there, or I'm not going to do it. And so as soon as I got up there, I was like, as soon as I can go, just let me go. Just let me go. So I'm like waiting for the kid in front of me to like get down. I'm like, I have to go. But yeah, I swear to God, the kids like just loved it. And they were like, even though I kind of embarrassed myself, but like they saw that, like, they probably saw that I was, like, I had something that I had to deal with, and I dealt with it. And it's like, yeah, you just kind of sometimes, when you're in a position where you're supposed to be this leader and an example, sometimes it kind of works to kind of show a little, chink in the armor, as long as you kind of you accomplish the task and whatever. You can't look like a total, like you can't just totally fail. Like that doesn't work. Yeah, so that's my story along with that. And exactly that, when I see Leach do things like this, it makes me think of stuff like that. When you have a group of younger people that you're leading, that you have nothing in common with, and that like you just want to connect with them in some way. And what everyone likes swimming at the pool, and who doesn't know how to do a belly flop. So Leach went on there and did it, and WSU did a good job sharing that and making a little video out of it actually too. So cheers to them.
Yeah, they've done it. By the way, the new guy that they hired, I think, has done a pretty good job at that kind of stuff. I like the new videos they're making.
Made a
pretty good job of sharing stuff.
ESPN shared it and everything. So
yeah. And it was on.
Who didn't share it?
Dan Levitard or something.
Who didn't share it? Coug Center. What the hell?
What the hell are those guys doing?
Missed some of those clicks.
Losers.
But yeah.
Who's in charge of those guys anyway?
But yeah, Jeff, we'll get in, maybe before we get into a couple other things, take another break.
Yeah. Commercial break. And we're back.
We're back, and we still have kook stuff to talk about.
We do. We got a couple more kook things.
By the way, I switched to a sidecar beer, and I just wanted to call it the sidecar beer because it's particularly exciting. Georgetown has started canning a new beer. Well, it wasn't a new beer, but they've canned a well-loved beer of theirs for the first time, Johnny Utah.
Yeah.
Which
I don't think I've actually ever had.
Oh, yeah. Well, now you can just pick it up in a 6-pack.
I can.
Excellent. So it's kind of like the Bodie Light. So if you haven't figured that out, both references to Point Break, Bodie and Johnny Utah. Bodie being Patrick Swayze's character and Johnny Utah being Keanu Reeves' character, brah. And so So Bodie is kind of like Johnny Utah is kind of, it's a lighter pale ale. It's got kind of the light malt presence, kind of like Bodie does, and the hop character, but definitely not as bitter, not as kind of like up front in your nose aromatic, but an excellent kind of drinking beer. It's at 5.6%, great session beer. It's got a great can, blue, orange. Boise fans would love this shit. Like, if I was a Boise fan, I'd be just drinking Johnny Utah all the time, but
it's all you would drink.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. I picked up a 6-pack today, after I dropped off my ballot, and then,
attaboy.
and came on back, and, cause, we gotta have some, I have all the, I have the endless amounts of beer, but you gotta have the beer that you can just drink. Amanda needs that. Like, she's like, what can I drink? I'm like, nothing. And so I got to get the beer that I can point to her and let her drink. But anyways, so odds and ends here with the Cougs. This is our new segment, Cougs odds and ends. No, it's not. So Ahmed Ali is officially left the program. So he had entered the transfer portal. Didn't seem to work out very well for him. Came back to the roster and now is gone. Reported by Theo Lawson. So yeah, Jeff, we've talked about Ahmed Ali quite a bit, where he fits with Kyle Smith and where he doesn't fit with Kyle Smith. So
yeah.
So how are you feeling about that departure?
Well, I think the latter is the more relevant, right? Yeah. I mean, it was never a good fit to begin with, and evidenced by the guys that he went out and recruited. Basically, it's never a great situation when you're coming back for your senior year, and the coach went out and recruited like 3 guys who play your position.
Right.
So, and Ahmed Ali's not, when we're talking about like the problems that the team had last year, I don't think he was at the top of the list, but our biggest thing that we've sort of talked about is that, if you're going to play for Kyle Smith, you got to defend. Ahmed Ali was probably the worst defender on the team last year.
Yep.
Not just in terms
I think Ahmed Ali was highly indicative of what Ernie Kemp valued in a player.
Right. If you can score a little, who cares if you can play any defense? He just was a little bit lost in sort of any team defense concept. It was funny.
Undersized to begin with.
Yeah, he's undersized to begin with. He's like 5'11", and you sort of like, you would expect that a guy like that, if you're 5'11", you're going to be quick enough to maybe, at the very least, play man to man, stay in front of somebody, that kind of stuff. Well, he couldn't really do that, and they'd get man to man, which, man to man is more complicated than zone, right? Because you got to be able to, rotate and help people and things like that. And more often than not, he just sort of looked kind of lost, and well, then you put him in a zone and, you've got a 5'11" guy on the perimeter playing zone, right? So that's not really useful either. I think he always faced an uphill battle, finding minutes with Kyle Smith. But I also think to some degree that he didn't find a suitable landing place. I think he would have left if he had found that. Well, maybe he got a phone call. It is the beginning of August, so maybe he got a phone call from somebody who suddenly had an opening and was willing to take him on as a transfer. I don't know. I guess he must be a grad transfer, maybe, for him in order to do this. I don't know. Like, I don't know kind of how this works. So anyway, no big loss. I don't think he figured in much. I do know that Kyle Smith was still recruiting people, as of fairly recently. So who knows?
Yeah, I saw some comment on some Coug Facebook group, or maybe it was even our Facebook, where they're like, well, you stole a scholarship from Kyle Smith. It's like, come on, the coach knows.
Yeah.
The coach has options. He'd already tried to leave and it didn't work out. And it wasn't like with Jeff Pollard where he obviously was actively recruiting him to come back. Like
Right.
it was, I really don't think Smith, like, I'm sure that Smith kind of laid it out for him. Like, this is what you got to do. And
I don't think it's his style to run people off.
No.
And that may sound sort of, like idealistic, that, we have a coach who I don't think would run people off. I mean, I'm not going to say that Kyle Smith wouldn't do that, but he doesn't seem like the type who's going to, run off half his roster because, he didn't really do that. And so, and I know there was a ton of turnover. So, people might say he did, but I think for the most part, those guys all left for, various reasons. And he said sort of over and over again, hey, anybody who's here, you're welcome to stay and we'll coach them up and we'll get better. And that's pretty easy. I will say that's easier for him to say when you've got a lot of seniors, right? Like, so, I mean, they had a lot of upperclassmen, they had a lot of seniors, a lot of JUCO guys who were going to be seniors. So, it's easier to say for that first cycle, hey, stick around, it's fine, you can bide your time for a year. So whether it was entirely altruistic or not, I don't know, but I do think he wasn't really, actively running dudes off. And, Ahmed Ali could have been, kind of an interesting weapon off the bench for 10 or 15 minutes,
right.
Come in and hit a 3 or 2, he could have been interesting, but I hope he lands at a place that makes him happy and allows him to, chuck threes and do what he does. Cause, he was never a Pac-12 player, as hard as that is to say. At that kind of size, you better be very fast and very quick, and probably strong also. And he was kind of none of those things. So, at a mid-major level or a low major level, a lot of what he does might have more success. And so, I hope he finds a place where he lands and he can get the kind of minutes that he wants.
Yeah, absolutely. But Jeff, I have another question for you. It has nothing to do with Ahmed Ali or Cougar basketball.
Okay.
I want to know if you've ever on purpose watched a Jacksonville Jaguars preseason game.
The answer is no. No, I have not.
But you know what? I am setting my DVR.
Yeah, I will probably do that.
For 4:30 p.m. NFL Network on Thursday. 8
Thursday.
8. So Gardner Minshew seems to be in the number 2. Well, in the Jaguars' official depth chart is listed as the number 2 quarterback, which is a big deal for him because number 2 means you make the roster. So he is starting out from a good place in the preseason, and that also means he will probably, given it's the first preseason game, will be getting a ton of reps.
Yeah.
So if you want to see Gardner Minshew play some football, Thursday, 4:30 p.m. NFL Network, that'll be your place.
Yeah, that's like how exciting for him, right? Because they're clearly taking it slow to some degree with Nick Foles, right? They don't want him to get hurt. They know they're pretty screwed at that point. So it seems like Gardner Minshew is going to get a nice long look, and that's pretty great for him. He seems to have impressed. He's done all the right things at practice. He's done all the things that we're used to, right? Which is convincing the team that he's a leader and commanding the huddle and kind of all the stuff that that sort of captured us and captured the team, a year ago. So, pretty exciting for him to get that nice long look. He seems to have separated himself from, the other 2 guys they've got there, or at the very least convinced the coaching staff that he should have, first crack at looking good. So,
right.
Yeah, good for him. That's awesome.
Hey, and not saying that he is Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson kind of started out in the same position and then just crushed it in the preseason as the second guy, and then just became the starter by week 1. So not that I'm saying that that's happened. They just signed Nick Foles to quite a big contract. So
yeah, even bigger than what Matt Flynn had
quite a lot bigger than what Matt Flynn had signed. So, but yeah, so he had a much bigger hill to climb, especially as a round, 7th round, 6th round draft pick versus 6th round draft pick versus a 3rd round draft pick. Definitely a big difference there. Yep. But yeah, it's great to see that, if he can stick at that number 2 spot, that means he makes the roster. That means he's not on the practice squad or whatever. So, hopefully, I'm excited to, watch him run some NFL offense and, so it should be fun.
Yeah. Exciting for him.
Yeah. Go Cougs, go Mustache.
That's right.
Cool, man. So, what else
you got any good kid stories?
I don't know, man. It's been pretty chill. I had quite an epic one last week. I haven't had much else to talk about this week. Actually, took the kids took her back to Yakima, and she loves seeing the grandparents and stuff. But there wasn't I didn't have she was kind of out of my hands most of the time. So
that's how it is when grandparents are around.
Yeah, a lot of people share her with. So I actually had a lot of time away from her. So that was interesting. But what about you?
Well, yesterday it was 92 degrees around here. So I took we loaded the
out in the valley.
That's right.
Over here it was only 87.
Yeah, so out here in Graham, it was 90 degrees, so we decided to load the kids up and take them for a day trip to the ocean. So we threw everything in the car and drove out to Pacific Beach out there on the coast and got there, and it was a balmy 62 degrees with about 15 mile per hour winds, and it was overcast. And so I'm out there, I had shorts on, but I'm wearing a sweatshirt and I'm bundled up. And the kids, of course, being kids, take their shirts off and start running into the ocean. And I'm just oh, to be a child, right? It's so freaking cold out here. The kids are whatever, man, it's awesome. They're running into the water and playing, building sand castles and whatever. So
I don't know if you remember the old commercial from the 90s or whatever, when it was 2 guys just sitting on a beach, totally bundled up, and there's a beach ball and they're trying to play it, but it's just rolling by. And then, and it says it's a Henry Weinhardt's commercial, and it says, "Nothing like a Northwest beach for keeping the Henrys cold."
It's so true, especially Washington beaches.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was so funny, we drove and it was so hot here, and we didn't leave until, I don't know, noon or something. I mean, it was late, and we were just you know what, let's get out of here. Let's drive to the coast, and it'll be, whatever. It's 2.5 hour drive. And, we get there as we're getting closer. It's funny, we had the AC cranked up as we're driving for the first hour, and then, it's all of a sudden it drops down to 80, and then it drops down to 70, and we're oh, so I'm turning the air conditioning down, and then we start getting close to really close, within a couple of miles of the coast, and it was air conditioning off, and then it was windy and overcast and whatever. But I love going out there, taking my launch. I don't care if I'm cold, man. Just listening to the waves. It's very peaceful, and I enjoy it. So kids loved it. They built some sand castles, and everybody was happy.
Cool, man. Not much kid talk this week.
No, that's all right.
And I'm definitely not up on the latest music trends, because I've just been thinking about 90s country.
That's right.
So I don't know, man. What all I have to say is, if you like this, please subscribe.
Yeah, kind of getting to the end here. Subscribe to us. Give us a 5-star review.
Yeah, do both of those things.
Helps people find us.
And if all that fails, just tell someone else about the podcast. You can
do that.
Other Cougs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably want to listen to it too.
They probably do.
I mean, they'll probably hate it, but you hate them anyway. It's probably your neighbor that you don't like, and you just tolerate him because he went to WSU.
Yeah.
And he has a big TV, so you go over and watch the games, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Tell 100%. Him about the podcast. Let him suffer through it.
Yeah. Especially the awesome advertisements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll get another one after it ends. And who the heck sticks around for the post podcast advertisement? By the way,
we could have a whole conversation about that.
We probably could. Do you ever do that, Jeff?
Oh, every time. I absolutely love listening to advertisements from our advertisers. Why do you ask?
Me too. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page.
Want to make sure it was both of us that were doing that.
I certainly would never hit the skip to the next podcast button or skip 30 seconds button.
No. Who does that?
I mean, I skip ahead to the ads because they're so exciting.
That's right. All right. I think we're done.
Yeah, pretty good. You know, hey, we're podcast best practices. Got the time down here.
That's right.
All right, man.
Cougs, Craig.
Go Cougs.